very, very proud of all you've done. And I know all you're going to do. We all wish you the best. And we will all be there for you, no matter what comes, the good and the bad. Both will be coming, but we'll be there for you.
And I thank you all too, everybody. Thank you so much.
Pittsburgh was the only team that I visited. You know, I think things worked out for me, and everything happens for a reason.
Ben Roethlisberger. You know him, I know him. You don't need me to tell you that he's a two-time Super Bowl champion, the youngest starting quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, the guy who threw more touchdowns in back-to-back games than anyone in NFL history, who holds records for the most passing yards by a quarterback coming off the bench, the most 500-yard passing games, the most wins in a season by a rookie quarterback, the most completions in a single NFL game, and the most games with a perfect passer rating. You don't need me to tell you that he's a future first-ballot Hall of Famer. We already know that Big Ben is an NFL legend. So today, we're rewinding it back to where it all began, his childhood in Findlay, Ohio. I'm Devin Engel. Welcome to the Here We Go show, and this is the story you've all been waiting for. This is the story of Ben Roethlisberger. Benjamin Todd Big Ben Roethlisberger was born in Lima, Ohio on March 2nd, 1982. Big Ben grew up with sports being a very big part of his life. His father, Ken Roethlisberger, was a pitcher and a backup quarterback at Georgia Tech. So it was no shock when Ben wanted to play basketball, baseball, and football. His family did experience some instability early in his life. At the young age of 2 years old, his birth mother, Ida Faust, and his father went through a divorce. He ended up living with his father and stepmother, Brenda, who got married 2 years after that divorce. While Brenda was not Ben's biological mother, that was definitively his mom, and that's how Ben refers to her. Brenda was very involved in Ben's life, playing sports like basketball, baseball, and football with him. She kind of looked like him too. She was tall, very athletic, and those are traits that her and Ken passed on to Ben's younger sister, Carly, who ended up having an awesome career as a college volleyball and basketball player. Ben loved having Brenda in his life. Now, Ida was still a part of Ben's life as well. He'd even spend alternating weekends staying at her home. Now, the story I'm about to tell you next, I'm going to keep short, out of respect for Ben, who doesn't speak often or very much on this situation. One day, Ben and Brenda were playing outside, waiting for Ida to come pick him up, just like she always does. The hours passed, afternoon turned to night, still no Ida. Ben's dad got home, he seemed very stressed out, and he was on the phone. It turned out Ida was in a car accident, and she ended up passing away in the hospital. Now, Ben doesn't remember much about his birth mother, Ida, but from what he shared, what he does remember is, number one, she was just a beautiful lady to be around. She was a beautiful blonde woman. He feels like that's where he got his blonde hair from. And from what he does remember, she was just a very pretty, sweet woman. This was a really tough moment in Ben's young life, but he came out of it way stronger. Anytime you saw Big Ben throw for a touchdown and you'd wonder why he points to the sky, you don't have to wonder anymore. That was for Ida. Ever since he was a child, Ben had a passion for playing sports, with a focus on basketball and football. His favorite thing to do was play backyard football. He played with heart. He played with passion. He hated losing, and he showed all of that on the football field. As he moved into his middle school years at Donnell Middle School in Findlay, Ohio, Ben was already known as a great athlete in pretty much every sport he ever played. By the time he was ready for Findlay High School, that big competitive kid from backyard football had turned into a multi-sport problem for everybody he played against. Ben played multiple sports in high school, and he was a team captain for all three. Being the most physically gifted kid in the school, Ben played shortstop for the Findlay High School baseball team, and he was a really good one. Ben was named second team All-League and earned All-District honors after batting .300 as a shortstop. Ben was also an All-League and All-District basketball player as a 6'5" point guard, averaging 26.5 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. In fact, he ended up leaving Findlay High School as their all-time leading scorer in basketball. Now, while he was fantastic at baseball and amazing at basketball, Big Ben became a superstar in football. Now, one thing many people forget is that Ben was actually primarily a receiver all the way up until his senior season. Not because he was a bad quarterback or because he lost a competition. Reality is, quarterback Ryan Haidt was the son of head coach Cliff Haidt, and he was actually a pretty solid quarterback at that. Simply put, there just wasn't a competition to be had. Now, that being said, everybody at that school knew Ben was a better quarterback, but because Ryan Haidt was a better leader and game manager, and because he actually had a pretty solid junior year, Coach Haidt wanted to keep that continuity going during Ben's junior year during the 1998 season. Ben and Ryan Haidt actually had a good connection, reeling in 57 catches for 757 yards that year. Now, Ben wasn't a fast wide receiver per se, but he was a smart receiver who was familiar with the position and was impossible to cover because of his size. Ben was always wide open. At least when he came back to the huddle, that's what Ben would tell you. With Ryan Haidt graduating, it was finally time for Ben Roethlisberger to show what he can do, and holy smokes, his senior year in 1999 was the start of something legendary. In his senior season, Ben threw... No, this can't be right. Wait, these are his high school stats? These are his high school stats. In his senior season in 1999, when Big Ben made the switch to quarterback, he threw for 4,041 yards and 54 touchdowns, both state records, and he also ran for 7 more scores. You heard that right. In his senior year, in his first year as a starting quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger recorded 61 touchdowns. Ben was good right away, throwing for 6 touchdowns in his very first game. Coach Cliff Haidt had some high praise for Ben, saying, in high school, you don't really know who's going to be a pro yet. You still got kids that are 5'7", they weigh 145 pounds, soaking wet, and they'll give you every ounce of energy and everything that you could possibly desire. But in Ben's case, you knew Ben was going to be special. Ben led the Findlay High School Trojans to a 10-2 record and reached the second round of the playoffs. High school Ben was so good, he threw 8 touchdowns in a single game and was recognized as Ohio's Offensive Player of the Year. One thing that led to Ben's success is that he would actually audible out of pretty much every play, and he would identify the size advantages his receivers had and said, oh, okay, you run a go, I'm throwing to you. Now, Mike Aridi was Ben's favorite target to throw to, and he had some very wise perspective to share about Ben. Mike said, we knew he should have been the quarterback, but at the same time, what if he did play his junior year? Would he have learned the different things? Would he have learned certain things or gotten the feel of where defensive backs and linebackers sit? Would he have been able to understand when to throw the ball and when not to throw the ball? Because as a receiver, you have to learn to find those holes, and you learn to find those things. I feel like it helped him to the fact where he can communicate with a receiver the same way a receiver understands it, and not necessarily how a quarterback understands it. In just 1 year at quarterback, Ben rewrote the record books. He turned Friday nights into primetime entertainment, and he made it pretty clear. This wasn't just a big kid with the big arm. This wasn't just Ben Roethlisberger, the kid from Findlay, Ohio. This was the beginning of Big Ben. Ben had an interesting journey to breaking MAC records. He shared a story about a couple college recruitment visits he took. Multiple Big Ten programs showed interest in him coming out of Findlay, including rumblings about Ohio State and other major conference schools keeping tabs on him. But Ben ended up committing to Miami. No, not the Miami, the one that was just in the national championship game in 2026. He committed to Miami of Ohio. I have his jersey right here. It's a smaller Mid-American Conference school in Ohio, obviously. The big reason he committed there? They were the only school that promised him he'd play quarterback, so long that he sits a year. The big schools like Ohio State, like Duke, they were interested in him, but they were more keen on him playing receiver or tight end, which contributed to Ben committing where he did. He told them, you guys don't know if I'm going to play quarterback? Well, I'm going to go over here where I am going to play quarterback. That's exactly what he did. With that being said, Miami didn't want to give him a scholarship to play until they actually saw him play a high school game. Once they did see him play in that first high school game, he threw 6 touchdowns and they offered him a scholarship the very next day. Like I mentioned, Ben didn't play in his true freshman season in 2000. He ended up redshirting. And taking that year to sit back and learn ended up being one of the most beneficial years of his life. It was the first of only 3 times in his entire career he'd sit for the majority of the season. But when Big Ben finally got his opportunity to play in year 2, he gave Miami so many memorable moments. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows right away. Ben had a rough first 2 games against Michigan and Iowa, but he ended up making a name for himself in a game versus Akron that year. The score had Miami trailing 27-24. Miami was at their own 30-yard line and there were 3 seconds left on the clock. Ben takes the snap and he heaves the ball to Eddie Tillits for a 70-yard game-winning touchdown. It was his 3rd touchdown of the game, and that put him up at 399 passing yards, breaking the school record, a record that he would break not long after that. Ben also had a run-in with a future Steelers teammate during his redshirt freshman season, or rather, you could say he ran into him. In the final game of the year, Ben was sacked 5 times by future Steelers teammate James Harrison in a 24-20 loss to Kent State. It was more like 3 full sacks and 2 half sacks, but to keep the math simple, James just calls it 5 sacks, and that's what I call it too. Ben even jokes that he's the reason James Harrison made it to the league. He finished up his freshman year at Miami with some fantastic numbers. In 12 games, he completed 241 of 381 passes for 3,105 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 13 picks, with a 146.5 passer rating. After his stellar season, he was named MAC Freshman of the Year, 2nd Team MAC All-Conference, and Team MVP. Ben kept up the pace in his sophomore season. He made a legendary name for himself as a passer, but he set a handful of records against Northern Illinois that season. In that game, Ben completed 41 of 61 passes for 525 yards, breaking his previous school record of 452 passing yards against Hawaii the year prior. He threw 4 touchdowns and completed passes to 10 different Red Hawks in a 48-41 shootout with the Huskies. Ben was such a good athlete that he even won awards as a punter. Yes, you heard that right, a punter. As a sophomore, he punted twice in the season opener against North Carolina, averaging 51 yards per kick, including a 59-yard punt. In a game against Toledo that year, he pinned Toledo inside the 10-yard line 3 different times in a 27-13 win against them, breaking their 17-game home win streak. Roethlisberger wrapped up his sophomore year completing 271 of 428 passes for 3,238 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 11 picks with a 138.7 rating. This year, he once again earned 2nd Team MAC All-Conference and Team MVP. Now, Ben was already NFL bound, but 2003 was the year he really turned it on. But it started out ugly against Iowa again, throwing 4 interceptions in a 21-3 loss. After that, he was elite. He didn't lose another game that year. He even got to play in Miami's 1,000th game, where he outplayed future NFL quarterback Bradley Van Pelt in a 41-21 blowout, where Ben threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. That game moved Ben into the MAC's top 10 in pass completions, and he became the first Red Hawk to throw for 7,000 career passing yards. Ben solidified himself in Miami history with that game. He even threw 2 touchdowns and 377 yards against Cincinnati, the Red Hawks' rival, which means in his career at Miami, he went 3-0 against them. This also made Ben the first quarterback at Miami to pass for 300 yards in 3 straight games. Ben was putting Miami on the map, as Miami played their first ever nationally televised game, dominating number 15 Bowling Green, 33-10 in front of a sellout crowd of over 28,000 fans. Big Ben moved the Miami Red Hawks into their first top 25 ranking since the 1970s. 1 week later, Ben and the number 23 Red Hawks smoked Marshall 45-6 to win the MAC East Championship. Despite gusts of 40 miles per hour, Ben threw for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns in front of another sellout crowd. To cap off the season in the conference championship, number 14 Miami took on number 20 Bowling Green, and Ben Roethlisberger threw 4 touchdowns for 440 yards in a 49-27 masterclass of elite quarterback play. Ben joined his future teammate Byron Leftwich as the only MAC quarterbacks to throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Ben led Miami to their first conference title since 1986, and he'd finish 9th in Heisman voting the weekend after. Now, to me, bowl games are pretty meaningless, but Ben's bowl game against Louisville had significant meaning, as it was Ben's last time dressing up in this number 7 Red Hawks jersey in his farewell game to college football. In that game, Ben threw for another 4 touchdowns and 376 yards in a 49-28 dominant win against the Louisville Cardinals. In that game, Ben set MAC single-season records for total offense, pass completions, and passing yards. The Red Hawks finished their season with a school record 603 points scored, scoring 43 points per game, and wrapping up the season with a number 10 ranking for the second time in school history, a feat that they haven't reached since 1974. Ben Roethlisberger finished up his breakout year completing 342 of 495 passes for 4,486 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions with a rating of 165.8. He joined a small group of MAC quarterbacks to throw for over 10,000 yards in their college careers, and he's inarguably the best quarterback to accomplish that feat. Ben was honored as the MAC Offensive Player of the Year, finally cracking first team MAC All-Conference, and once again was voted the definitive team MVP. Ben Roethlisberger's college career was a message to every big program that didn't believe in him at quarterback. You didn't just pass on the kid from Findlay, Ohio. No, you passed on Big Ben.
After thorough discussion with my family and coach and a great deal of deliberation, I decided to make myself eligible for the 2004 NFL Draft.
Shortly after his bowl game against Louisville, Ben announced he was foregoing his senior season at Miami and declared for the 2004 NFL Draft. There was never a doubt in anyone's minds. Ben was going to be a first-round pick. The only question is, who would take him? Where would he go? The top quarterback in that class was Eli Manning. Also in that conversation was Philip Rivers. The top quarterbacks of that class were Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Philip Rivers, with Eli Manning being the definitive number one at the time. The San Diego Chargers had the first overall pick after going 4-12 with Saints legendary quarterback Drew Brees. And they were in the market for Eli Manning out of Ole Miss, but Archie Manning didn't want Eli to go there. I mean, shoot, nobody wanted to go there. Here's a video of the 2004 draft class laughing at the idea of going to San Diego.
Classic play in San Diego. He's trying not to smile.
For a short time, the plan was, if the Giants, who had the number 4 pick, couldn't get Eli Manning, they were going to take Ben Roethlisberger. However, because they had Eli rated first on their draft board, there were some extra steps that had to happen to be able to get him. Everyone knew Eli Manning was not going to play for the Chargers, and the Chargers wanted Philip Rivers instead of Ben. And for this reason, the Giants ended up drafting Philip Rivers so that they could trade him, along with some extra compensation, to the San Diego Chargers in exchange for Eli Manning on draft day. At the time, this was bad news for Ben Roethlisberger, but in hindsight, it was the best thing that happened for his future. Big Ben fell outside of the top 10 picks of the draft, being passed on teams like the Browns, the Lions, the Texans, the Falcons, the Browns, and the Browns. But when pick 11 came, something magical happened.
With the 11th pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ben Roethlisberger, quarterback, University of Miami, Ohio.
As Ben mentioned in the intro, Pittsburgh was the only team he visited. And from the moment he got the opportunity to take over for Tommy Maddox, Ben demonstrated what it meant to be a Steeler. Ben didn't just throw. He rewrote how quarterbacks play. Defenders would just sack everybody else, but Ben would just shrug them off. He'd turn a broken play into a 50-yard gain. Broken foot, broken nose, broken hand. No matter what it was, you weren't taking Ben off that field. He was going to break a sack and throw 300 yards because why not? He'll throw for 6 touchdowns 2 weeks in a row because he felt like it. He'll come in off the bench and break backup quarterback records with a messed up foot just to see if he could do it. Ben proved his backyard style of football could win Super Bowls in the modern NFL, and he did it twice. There is only one quarterback you think of when you think Pittsburgh football, and that quarterback's name is Ben Roethlisberger. My name's Devin Engel. This is the Here We Go Show, and that was the story of Ben Roethlisberger.